Hi there. This is 21 and 21, a rapid-fire Q&A show filmed at Presidio Bitcoin, the Bay Area's first Bitcoin co-working and event space. I'm Haley Burko, and I ask visitors who have stopped by Presidio Bitcoin 21 questions in 21 minutes. It's okay if we don't get through them all. We'll do our best. Today, our guest is whoever this guy is.
Jack.
I've got my clock right here, and it's ready to go. Jack, once I hit the button, it's go time. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
I don't know what I'm ready for, but I'm ready.
What brings you to Presidio Bitcoin?
This interview.
What are you working on right now?
Right now, we're doing a ton, but it's mainly block related.
Are any of the things that you're working on important to Bitcoin's future, and why?
I believe so. We have a team working on mining, an open source mining rig and chipset. We have a team working on BitKey, which is a self-custodial wallet. And then we have our Bitcoin exchange business within Cash App. And we're just looking at ways to better integrate Bitcoin with everything that we do because it helps our business. Like if we have an open protocol for money transmission that works on the internet anywhere, like we can build our business everywhere. Whereas today, that's just not the case because we need a partnership with the bank. So all these things are very, very good for us, and I think good for Bitcoin as well.
How did you become a Bitcoiner?
I followed the alt cypherpunks pretty early. I was very interested in the open internet and Usenet and cryptographers and applied mathematics. And like early on, a big follower of like Adam Back and what he did with 4 lines of Perl, exporting PHP, it was just a very cool, wild world. And the dream for that group was always money and money transmission. And, when we started Square at the end of 2008, 2009, like the white paper had just come out and I just thought it was like brilliant. It was poetic. And we were just about to get in the mix with the credit card networks and the banks and whatnot. And that this was another path and someone was thinking about that. And there was a movement around it that connected the dots with the alt cypherpunks for me. It felt amazing, but early.
What are you currently most excited by in the Bitcoin space right now?
Mining, like our team's mining rig. I just think it's important. I think it's another point of centralization that we can help diminish and further decentralize. And we'll have our system, but I'm excited to see what other people build with it and how they customize it.
What do you consider the most Bitcoin project in Bitcoin today?
The most Bitcoin project within Bitcoin? Bitcoin Core. I mean, like just the work that group does, the deliberateness, the adversarial thinking they have to do on a regular basis. I think it's the most important and the most complicated. And I just have a huge amount of respect for that collection of individuals.
So let's fast forward to the future, and Bitcoin has failed. How did it fail?
I think it fails through irrelevance. Like it fails to be relevant to people on a daily basis. If it just ends up being store of value and nothing more, I don't think it gains relevance at all. Like I think it has to be payments for it to be relevant on the everyday. Otherwise, it's just something you kind of buy and forget and only use in emergency situations or when you want to get liquid again. So I think if it doesn't transition to payments and find that everyday use case, it just gets increasingly irrelevant. And that's failure to me.
What do you think that we can do to mitigate that risk that led to failure?
I think, building simple, accessible experiences that solve the payment use case, making it scale, making it fast, like giving the speed of the Visa and MasterCard networks real competition. I think all that changes, and there's tons of projects to do that, and that it continues to increase in privacy and security and and ultimately safety, gives you a third option. And I think we always want a third option to the U.S. dollar, to the Chinese yuan. Having a third option for currency, I think, is important, and it keeps the other currencies in check, and governments in check as well.
So Bitcoin is quite volatile.
Mm-hmm.
How do we get people to use Bitcoin as a currency despite the volatility?
Well, it's volatile. It's, only 16 years old, 17 years old. And I think on that time frame, anything just getting started is going to look volatile until people really understand it better and understand the use cases and have a different relationship with it. We all remember when we were 16 years old as a little bit of a wild time, and I think that's expected. And I think it's just going to take time. It's just continuing to make it more accessible, continuing to make it easier, continuing to make it more private, lean into the things that brought us all here in the first place and those principles. And, I think more and more people will turn their attention towards it.
What's your most controversial Bitcoin opinion?
I don't know if it's controversial, but I think we can do better than Lightning. And it's not that like Lightning is bad. It's just challenging. And Bitcoin is an incredible layer one. And I don't think we just want to settle with having one layer two. I think we need to experiment a whole lot more and have different alternatives and play around, because we never know what's going to stick. And there might be different use cases that each of these layers, alternative layer two, solves for in a better way. And having more choice rather than just being religious about one, I think will be best for Bitcoin and best to kind of meet people where they are in terms of how to actually use it for a daily use case.
This might be related to the answer you just gave me, but what's your dream project that you would like to see Bitcoiners build?
The intersection of AI and agents, I think, is there's a lot there, and I don't think we've explored enough. It's obvious that agents will be a part of our future. It's obvious that we will give them agency to transact for us. Do we want that to, again, be in this corporate-owned financial network, or do we want a financial network that the internet owns and is a layer on top of the internet? I think we want the latter, and I think we can build a lot more interesting applications within AI if we have that, and we don't need. It's all about who you're asking permission from, right? And development goes faster if you have to ask for less permission. And that's the beauty of Bitcoin, is I can build anything I want on top of it. And I think what we need to see more of is that same sort of thinking applied towards media, which Noster, I think, is helping to solve, and intelligence, which we don't have enough energy around yet. So I think that intersection is very interesting. I think the media and Bitcoin, social media in particular, and Bitcoin intersection is interesting, and I would love to see more projects there and more experiments.
What's your perfect Sunday?
Perfect Sunday?
Mm-hmm.
A day to reflect, walk. I love walking in nature, so long walk. Able to reflect on the week past and the week ahead, and I love learning as much as I can, so I spend a lot of it reading and researching.
What's the best way for companies to support the Bitcoin open source ecosystem?
Well, Spiral opened a playbook for creating your own spiral in a box, and I think having more companies do that, I think, is important. Having some sort of granting ability to open source developers is important, that don't exist within your company. If you don't want to handle that yourself, there's great organizations like Brink and Opensats and HRF that you can donate to, and they'll do the work, and they have a pretty rigorous process to choose who gets grants and how much, and if they're recurring, if they're long-term. There's a bunch, but it comes down to funding open source developers to do what they think is best and they think is right.
Do you think that institutional investment determines whether Bitcoin becomes the planet's preferred currency?
No, it probably harms it a bit. But I think it's obvious that we'll see more of it, and I hope that more people take on the principles of what made Bitcoin successful in the first place, which is open source, open protocol. And it's not something that can just be frozen in time and said, okay, we're done. We built this protocol. We're not done. Like there's tons of stuff we need to do to really get back to the white paper, which is a system for electronic peer-to-peer digital cash. Like we have not seen that yet. We've not lived up to that potential. And I think we're still, pretty far away from it, actually.
What do you think the role of stablecoins should be?
I don't know. I do see them as potential good on-ramps to Bitcoin. I think they do have use cases. I worry about, in any of these things, one corporation or a few corporations owning the full stack of them. But I think they have use, and I think they make Bitcoin more accessible. But I just question how some of them are being built, and like if we can, build them in a more open protocol, unknowns, permissionless way than what we've currently seen. And I think the answer is yes, but I don't know. Remains to be seen.
What is happening today that gives you the most hope for Bitcoin's future?
Presidio Bitcoin. I think this is great because it is a bridge between Silicon Valley and all the energy down there, and Bitcoin, and in San Francisco, and this tech scene, which is not going away. It's only going to increase. So there is something in the water here, and having physical placement that makes Bitcoin more tangible to that world, I think, is important and necessary. But it's one thing. I think there are more and more organizations getting into Bitcoin open source funding and development, and there's more energy around it. And I don't know, like everything seems to be in flux right now. And those are always, it feels somewhat chaotic, but those are always times that like massive amounts of creation happen. And I think people are at least questioning everything, whether that be negatively questioning or positively, like they're questioning, and that I think always leads to better outcomes.
Who are some of your favorite Bitcoiners working in the space right now?
Steve Lee. There's a bunch of people. The whole Spiral team, I think, has been amazing. But it's the people that I don't know their identity and I don't know who they are, that contribute to Bitcoin Core around the world and do really, really thankless work and get tons of critique all the time, but like still put in the code and do the work. And Bitcoin is better for it. And they don't want credit, and they don't want to be known, and they don't have identity. And I think that's still who those are my heroes. The people who have that sort of approach.
How many Satoshi t-shirts do you own?
2 now. I have
2.
a long sleeve one and I have a short sleeve one.
Ah,
I doubled
nice.
doubled my Satoshi t-shirt metric.
How do you think that we can convince ordinary people like the moms and the dads that Bitcoin is in fact safe?
I think they have to feel it themselves. I don't think any matter of education or talking or videos or even podcasts like this, is going to change minds. They have to feel it. And we've been trying to do this with BitKey, because it's like this physical rock and you feel it and it's like solid. And I think we just need more of that. I don't think the feeling of safety or the convincing someone that Bitcoin is safe is the problem. I think it's, what do I use this for? Like it goes back to like, is it just digital gold? And I put this thing and I forget. Okay, done. But like it's just not. It's not enough. Not enough for me. So showing use cases, and like you get out of the U.S., you get out of this bubble, you get out of Europe, you get down to Central America, South America, Africa. I've spent a lot of time in those continents, and people are using Bitcoin to buy coffee, and they're using it to buy dinner, and they're using it to pay vendors, and those vendors are going to restaurants that accept that Bitcoin, and there's tiny little circular economies happening, and that gives me a lot of hope. And they're not talking about the price. They're actually using it on a regular basis. What's happening on Nostr with Zaps is the largest at-scale implementation of internet magic money that we've been talking about for decades. That's actually paying for content, and it's working at scale. It's small scale, but it's still at scale. So these are things that like we need to study more and learn from, and like those are the reasons why people get in, and those are the reasons people will stay ultimately. So you have to feel it, and like we haven't given enough opportunity to actually feel the magic.
What advice would you give to people who are new to the Bitcoin space or who are thinking about jumping in?
Don't overthink it. Just play as much as possible. Like there's a ton of choices. There's a ton of ways to experiment. There's a ton of ways to see the space and contribute to it. And, don't follow any one path because you think it's right. Follow it because like there's a gap and you want to see it in the world and you want to build it. And, only good will come from that. So yeah, play and experiment as much as possible.
So this is our last question.
Mm-mm.
Doing a great job at hitting all
you.
21 questions in 21 minutes. If you
can really expand on this one.
You can really expand. You got a whole
wild.
3.5 minutes. If you could leave our listeners with a single thought about Bitcoin, what would it be?
A single thought about Bitcoin. Don't listen to anyone's single thought about Bitcoin. Like what makes Bitcoin special, what makes things like Nostr special is they're permissionless. You don't need anyone's permission to build what you want to see. And that's just incredible. Like to be able to work on a money transmission protocol that's entirely open, that has no one leader, that has all this attention, that has converted the likes of BlackRock or these major institutions that were these things that we railed against in the past. And now they have to turn their attention to it. And yet you still don't need their permission to build on it or to change it or to better it. Where else can you find that? Like at that scale? Nowhere. And in only 16 years. So imagine the next 16 years and how you can contribute to it. Again, only asking yourself permission. Like that, it's just an incredible thing to be a part of. And it reminds me so much of the early internet where, again, the default was you didn't need permission to do anything. We see more and more of that going away. And Bitcoin and Nostr and hopefully something in intelligence will be the antidote to that and bring us back to like what made the internet special in the first place and what made it magic. So permissionless, that's the one thought, one idea.
It's a great lasting thought. Well, that's all I have. Thank you so much for coming on the show today and to stop by Presidio Bitcoin. We're really excited to have you here.
It's great to be here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.